Welcome, everybody. I'm going to go ahead and get started. There may be folks that come in, but we'll just keep going because I know you'll have class and there's a lot to cover. I'm Maureen Sweatman, Executive Director for Mercer Center for Career and Professional Development. We are excited to be able to come to Douglas as part of Etiquette Week, which has been a week-long series of activities around professionalism and etiquette with dinners and workshops and whatnot. So this one's on how to dress for success, and we are recording it. That doesn't mean much to y'all other than don't get too rowdy in the background. But we wanted other folks to be able to learn and view it, whether they're on another campus or a distance students or what have you, because we know schedules are hard to coordinate for events. So, and thanks to Cindy for recording. And thanks to Lou and Clarice who helped arrange for us to be here. So we're excited. I will be here every other Thursday afternoon from 2 to 6. So if you want to make an appointment with me, you can do that through Handshake. So make sure you've activated that. I'll talk a little bit more about that at the end, but wanted to make sure I said that for folks that may have to slip out early to get to class. So I will say, I intentionally did a few no-nos in my own wardrobe that we'll see if y'all catch at some point. Don't be so focused on it, though, that you're distracted, or if you catch them, and don't let it distract you, because that's part of the point, right? And feel free to take notes, but don't feel like you have to take down everything I said. I'm going to send you the PowerPoint. That's one of the reasons we have you check in, so that we can follow up and thank you and send you the information so you have it, okay? All right. So let's get started. So objectives to help you be a polished professional for obvious reasons, right? We want you to have a great career. You need a great sense of image and style in the professional space to do that, and to empower you that you can do this. It's within everybody's means to know how to dress, how and in what context, right? So I'm going to put on my old lady glasses here to read to make sure I don't miss anything. Your clothes speak. We know that, right? First impressions matter, and you hear different things. Some folks say it can take up to 6 months to change a first impression, positive or negative. So keep that in mind. There's also the adage you probably heard, dress for the job you want, not the one you have. So dress like the CEO if you want to be the CEO, right? The other notion when it comes to dress is that it's a compliment to your audience, so you want to be respectful, right? And make sure you're dressed appropriately for the event. The other thing to remember as we go through this is to not confuse business with a social event, right? So sometimes you're out with your coworkers and it's social. We'll go through some of that, but keep that in mind as we go through. We're going to talk about 3 different types of attire. Business professional, which is what you would wear for an interview for sure. Some industries, business professional is what you wear every day, no matter what, right? If you're an accountant in a firm, you're a business professional every day, all day, unless it's the golf tournament, right? Or that kind of thing. Business casual, which is really blurry, and we'll talk about how you figure that out. And then casual, which is what you're wearing, you know, going to yoga class or the grocery store or taking the kids to the park or whatever it is, right? On your non-work time. You'll hear me say a couple of times throughout this presentation, probably more than a couple actually, I use the word conservative, and I just want to signal right now in our environment that doesn't mean Republican or anything associated with that. It means more traditional, Western, right? Western is key too. The other thing to keep in mind that we won't go over in this slide deck, because it's already way too many slides as it is, and we don't want to keep you past the time, is that what's more and more folks have to do international travel for work, there will be customs and standards that you'll need to make sure that you're aware of when you travel. That's true for when you go on vacation too, but more important for work, obviously. Okay. Interview attire. It's critical you want to make the right impression, right? You want to make sure that you've intentionally bought a suit for interviews, and make sure you buy a new one every few years so you have a refreshed look. I have some suits in the back of my closet that are from 10 years ago, and they look like they're from 10 years ago, and I don't wear them. I probably should have donated them a long time ago in the spring clean. So, and by the same token, again, think conservative. Don't buy the latest fad that might be cute in the moment, but won't be helpful 6 months or a year down the road, right? And we'll go into some of the details. All right, so we have all women in the audience, but because we're recording and You may have male friends or relatives you want to help out. We're going to go over these as well. And I will say these are based on traditional genders, male, female. For some folks who identify differently, it's perfectly fine to make an appointment and ask what's appropriate. I had a student come in and say, you know, I identify as male, but I tend to wear a more effeminate hairstyle, like the way his hair was done. He was like, is this okay? And the way it was fine. But him coming in and asking me was an appropriate thing to do. All right, so for men, an interview suit should be tailored, which means fit. It doesn't mean you need to spend $1,000 on it, right? It doesn't have to be an Italian suit that, right, is really expensive, but it means it should fit well. It shouldn't be big and floppy, and it shouldn't be, there's a fad right now with the skinny clothes, right? Skinny pants for a men's suit is not an interview suit, okay? And even the wild socks, right? Like all the fun patterns of socks, you have the short pants so they show and all that stuff. It's not really, that's not conservative. That's not considered professional interview attire. All right, so two-piece match, solid or pinstripe, tailored fit. We talked about that, including the length. So again, no short, no really long, dragging the ground. Typically navy, dark gray, dark brown, olive, or black. And you want to make sure you have a portfolio instead of a backpack. Here's a spectrum of different ways to dress. Again, this is business professional we're talking about right now. We'll get to business casual later. So this is least recommended to most recommended. And feel free if y'all have questions as we go. Don't feel like you have to wait till the end. We put this up here just a reminder that attention to detail does matter, particularly when you're closer to someone in an interview. They will notice things you won't notice from far away, right? Like maybe my shirt is covered in pet hair because I live with a zoo, and you would see that if I was sitting next to you, right? But you wouldn't see that from here. So that kind of thing. Pay attention to a detail, right? Is a button missing? Is your tie crooked? Is your, you know, your pantyhose got a run in it? That kind of thing. Interview shoes for men. These are a no-no, right? This is not appropriate for a whole lot of reasons. But you know, his tie is loose, he's on the phone, he's got too cool for school with the sunglasses, he doesn't have a blazer on. This is more business casual, and even it's pushing it in some places, okay? It's also really frumpy. We see this at career fairs a lot with students. They look like they literally pick their slacks up off the floor and put them on and came to the career fair. It's not a good first impression, right? Yes, in the back. Yes, I will send a copy of the slides if you checked in. Yeah, make sure you checked in when you came in. All right, women. Interview suit can be skirts or pants. I had a slide once at another presentation, and someone said, do I have to wear a skirt? Because the picture had all skirts. I was like, no, you can wear pants. They should be matching again, same colors. And skirts should be knee length with no inappropriate slit, right? So it can't be, it's at knee length, but then the slit is up to your thigh, right? Or up so far the back that you can see your unmentionables, right? Oh, and one thing while we're talking about slits, make sure, we've seen this a lot at career fairs as well. Usually in most jackets and most skirts for women, there's an X. And for men too, for the jacket, make sure you take the X out. It's a thread that's kept it together, but it should not be in it. And it's real obvious when you have it taken out. It makes it look like you don't know what you're doing. All right, interview suit. Skirt or pants, again, you decide. Just make sure you're wearing hosiery that's appropriate for your skin tone with a skirt. Bring a backup pair in case you get a run, whether that's in your big bag or your car or whatever, right? Because you never know. Our speaker on Monday was like, I've been carrying around this pair of pantyhose forever and never had a run, and guess what? Tonight was the night. Yeah, you had a question? Yeah. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, as long as they're not clashing, right, in terms of the shade of navy. Yeah. And the thing I like to point out here, beyond the no open toe shoe, even if it's 105 degrees in Georgia, right, no open toes. And even if your pedicure is awesome, no open toe shoes for an interview. The other thing to point out, another fad, like we mentioned some of the earlier with the skinny stuff, skinny pants and the wild socks, yoga pants, ladies, are not pants. No. They're grocery store pants. They're not interview pants, okay? Even the ones that they try to sell you on Facebook, they're like, they're the, you know, no, they're not pants. They're not interview pants. All right, shoes. Now, you don't have to do, you know, crazy heels that are uncomfortable. In fact, you shouldn't. Again, we see this at career fairs, particularly some of the younger folks will be hobbling around in really too big high heels. Again, it's not a good first impression. Make sure you check your shoes for wear and tear. Make sure you can polish them. They look nice. A tip I use once they get close, if you get a little ding or a scuff or whatever, if you're like me and you don't pay attention, you step in things you shouldn't, like the crack on the sidewalk or whatever, and it scuffs it, use a black Sharpie if the shoe is black. Quick fix. All right. These are not appropriate. These are casual shoes. There are other labels we could give them, but we'll leave that to your imagination. And this is just a random sample, no judgment. I may or may not have some of these in my closet, but they are not appropriate for an interview or professional dress, okay? You also want to make sure they're not, for professional shoes, again, worn out. Are they current style? They don't have to be the latest fad, but do they look like you bought them 15 years ago? Because again, I have some of those in my closet that I can pull out. Make sure, particularly for an interview, that you don't do that. All right, any thoughts about how these ladies are dressed? Some of them might. Yeah. So here they're business casual, right? Here, right. Yeah. Okay. All right. So what if the job is a non-suit wearing work environment, right? That's tough. Even if it's outdoors, even if it's a startup and, you know, you're drinking from the beer tap on Fridays, whatever, you know, all those newfangled things we do in some companies, you need to dress conservatively for an interview. So my example, I'm in lots of Facebook groups around career, helping folks out, and a woman wanted to know how to help her husband, who got this great interview for a job at NASA, but he's a mechanic. He wears mechanic type clothes on the daily job, right? And we know what that looks like, or at least a stereotype of that, right? And so she said, well, should he just wear a polo and some nice khakis for the interview? And it was a resounding no before I could even jump in and say he should dress like we've talked about in terms of having a suit, professional, conservative look for the job. Once you have the job, you sign the dotted line and you're committing, then you can ask HR, another point of contact, you know, on, you know, a typical day, what does the dress code look like if there's not a written one you can review? Okay, see if you can find that. Before we do this, I want to go back and make one more point. Also know, do your research just like you do for doing your resume, preparing for your interview in terms of what you'll say. Know the environment you're going into. So there's this fun reality show out there, and Job or No Job might be the name of it. That there are a couple episodes that help you understand about how to dress. And one of them is a guy gets an interview with a startup. Those are like the newfangled thing, right? And they take office culture on a different way than it's been traditional. He came in his accounting conservative type suit, and they knew it wasn't a fit because he hadn't done his homework. That's not the kind of suit or the kind of dress you would show up in for a startup interview. Now, you should stick to the rule that you should go more conservative, but you should also do your research to know. If you can ask someone who works there, someone who works in a similar company, that kind of thing. That makes sense? So that's a little caveat. And then one more thing on that point, this might not apply to you, but maybe some folks on the video, nursing students or healthcare students will say, well, what I normally wear is scrubs. Again, like the mechanic question, right? That's not what you should wear to the interview. And you should not wear your cute little nursing clogs. Okay, those are casual. All right, women, it's not appropriate. I think we all know that, but we make sure that we say it because, again, we see it. And you want to make a good first impression. So there's no room for cleavage in the workplace, even on business casual day. All right, so here's another funny. Want to keep you engaged. Also not appropriate, evening wear is not appropriate. clingy, showy, flashy. Even if you put a blazer on over it, it's still evening wear, right? Too tight, right? Besides the fact that it's hot pink and your cleavage is falling out, it's way too tight, right? Even if you're a size 0, too tight is not okay. And this is recent fashion, right? Gaga can wear it, but we cannot. Don't wear the giant suit. She looks like a little kid in grandpa's suit. Don't do it, okay? Unless you're Lady Gaga and you can get away with it. All right, make sure you invest in both a pad folio and a business card case. Those are relatively inexpensive. You can sometimes even get them as swag at certain events. You want to take those to interviews, have them in your bag, take them to career fairs so that you can give out your resume, give out your business card once you have one, and they look nice. They don't look like they've been floating around in your purse or your car, right, or the kids drawn on them or whatever. All right, business casual. So we say it's a slightly less formal version of professional dress, but it is trickier to figure this out because as things have evolved in business culture, again, particularly in the West, the lines have gotten blurry. It used to be you knew what you were wearing to work, right? Oh, and one note before I go further, just to say, make sure you look at your calendar for the next day or the week or however you plan your wardrobes to make sure you know, is this a business casual day or a business professional day? Am I meeting with someone that I need to make sure I'm dressed professionally? Am I giving a presentation or whatever it may be? Another tip, kind of like the Sharpie tip and some others I'll give you throughout, keep a blazer and a pair of nice professional shoes in your office or your space, whatever that is, so that you know, if the CEO pops up or whatever, like you can quickly be ready to go and aren't embarrassed. All right, so business casual. These are appropriate business casual looks. It's not all that there could be. It's just some examples. Stacy Wagner, whose book we'll raffle off tonight, has been the facilitator helping us with the etiquette dinners and did the workshop on Monday on professionalism on different topics. One of her tricks that she shared is to think about having a suit and the separates and building off the separates for business casual. So take the skirt from the suit or the pants from the suit and wear a more casual top, or vice versa, wear the blazer with a more casual bottom. Okay. You get extra mileage out your clothes before they're out of date that way too. All right, business casual, yes? No, right? Too much leg going on at the knee. All right, white clothes usually require extra care. They can quickly look faded or dirty, stained, those kind of things. So make sure that once they get that way, as with all clothes, you need to move them either into your casual weekend pile or donate them or whatever it is you do. You shouldn't be wearing them to work, okay? Another example, yes, this is business casual. Tank top is never really appropriate unless it's a layer that you can't see, right? The cleavage and the straps and all that good stuff. Right, one more. Both of these are a yes. Even more examples, just to give you some different pictures. And there's 1,000,001 pictures we could have pulled. We did our best to show some diversity. So I mentioned this earlier, make sure you check your calendar. You don't have any meetings or special appointments that you need to be dressed up for. This is considered business casual. And in fact, for a lot of companies, this has become like the new uniform, right? Like the office polo or the office long sleeve shirt and khakis or whatever the bottoms are. The thing to say about this outfit and others, but particularly this one, ironing is your friend. Either dry clean and let someone professionally do it, or iron. Make sure your clothes look like they've been ironed. Yep, in the back.
You talked about a gentleman that he wears the kind of feminine. By us being the majority African American, would you consider your hair as a part of your attire?
Yes, and we'll get to grooming and hair and all that in a few slides. So hold on, okay? Yeah. But yes, so it's not just what you wear, and we'll get there. There's lots of pieces to your look. One of them is undergarments. And this says for women, this is true for men too. Don't get bulky and lawns and all that kind of stuff. Make sure things fit. Try not to have lawns. No bra strap showing. Again, no cleavage. Check for runs in your hosiery. If you have issues with any of these, there are lots of great stores now that you can go get someone to help you fit you correctly, pick out things that don't show under clothing, or the right color for your skin tone, all those kinds of things. And it's worth the investment, right? Like investing in a couple is worth buying 10 at the cheap price, right? Some of us have learned that the hard way, myself included. All right, business casual. Again, we'll go over these for men as well since we have folks on the video. Here's some examples of business casual. Here's some more. For men, they really need to know and ask someone, a colleague, HR, whomever, contact, does business casual here mean I need to have on a blazer and no tie? Or can I have on a polo and khakis, right? Because that could be different. Casual shoes. We bring our friends back from the other slide, though they might be out of date at this point. No worn out shoes again, no athletic shoes, no sandals. Always professional looking, even on Fridays. Now again, you got to take this in context, right? And as you're there longer, you figure out what it is. Particularly in the beginning, err on the side of conservative. This is not casual attire, not business casual attire. It's grocery store casual attire. No flip-flops ever. Remember that first impression? I could come in looking like a rock star on the first day for the interview and then wear flip-flops and it's all undone. Okay? Men and women. This outfit here in some settings might be okay as business casual depending on where you work, but you need to make sure you know before you dare wear it. Okay? That's just one example. And then a slide that a colleague had in here that we kept, that women work long and hard to get to a place of being more equal. Let's not undo it with flip-flops. Denim kind of goes in and out of fashion, right? There's some ways that you could pull that off that look business casual, but it's important to make sure you check and pay attention to what's appropriate at your workplace before you wear anything denim. Some places it's a big no-no to not ever do it, and some places it's fine. All right, men should always wear an appropriate belt. Gig line is a military term. It means things are lined up, belly button, belt, right, zipper. Women's details, you need to pay attention to your jewelry, all your other accessories, your purse, nothing flashy, less is more, unless you're in that kind of environment, right? Like if you work in fashion, you've got to go all out, that's different. Or if you work in an environment where that's the expected look, but you need to know, okay? All right, so grooming, getting to other parts. You want to make sure you have a professional polished look and not just in terms of the clothes you have on your body. It's kind of head to toe. So here's some different pictures for the different areas of grooming to think about. Again, make sure you've ironed, had things dry cleaned. In my world, I need a lint brush everywhere I go because I have pets and it shows more than you think it does. So make sure you, if you have that issue, or if you have a daughter like mine who has long curly hair and it's everywhere and sticks to everything, have a lint brush so you make sure you're free of hair because it shows up close and in person, right? Nails, we'll talk about that in a little bit, further slides. Tattoos as well. Cologne, perfume, Bath and Body Works lotion, all of that, less is more. It might smell good to you, but it might send your interviewers allergies off the radar. You don't want to be known for that. Again, first impression. Men, think about grooming facial hair. Men and women, appropriate haircut, whatever that means for your sector and for your person and whatever that is for you. This is about shining your shoes, and then we'll talk about tattoos in a second. The other thing to say, going back to the smell, one of those delicate things, make sure you've bathed. You think, right? So You don't want to make that impression. Make sure you have good deodorant that works for you. Everybody's body chemistry is different. And if you're a smoker or you live with a smoker or whatever, don't smell like smoke. Do whatever you got to do to get rid of it besides drowning in the cologne. Okay. All right, more about grooming. All right, so makeup should be neat, clean, polished look. Again, think more conservative unless you're in a place where you're expected to look more glammed up or, you know, have the MAC counter line on your face. It's also fine to be natural. Again, that's up to you, but make sure it's clean and polished looking, okay? Men's facial hair, they're fads, right? So sometimes the metrosexual, lumbersexual, all that stuff, it comes and it goes. Again, err on the side of conservative and know your environment, right? In some places it's fine, neat, groomed, polished. Piercings. If you have piercings, great, cover them up beyond kind of the traditionally accepted piercings in most places, right? Now, if you work in the tattoo parlor, have at it. Those places where it's acceptable, that's fine, but make sure that you cover up, again, because first impressions matter. Let's see if I missed anything. All right, we talked about all that. All right, tattoos. This is one that I live with because I have some. And if it had been warmer today, that would have been one of the no-nos I did, but I was not going to not wear tights because it's cold. Make sure you cover them up, again, unless you know you're in an environment that it's fine for them to show. That's also something to keep in mind if you decide you really need a new one. Maybe you don't need the butterflies on the back of your neck if you don't have long hair, right? I know for me, because where mine are, I can never wear a dress to an interview because I have one on my ankle. So you just got to know how to deal with, if you have them, how to cover them up. Okay. More grooming. Now this one can get a little tricky, again, because nail fads and fashion go in and out of style. We tried to pick some that were representative and not just pick on women, because men can have some toilet looking hands too, right? It should also not be bitten off and look gross. Nice, clean, polished. Again, there are many pictures we could have included. We tried to show a spectrum of what to do and what not to do. Stick with clean and neutral, particularly for the interview. Once you know what the culture's like, then if it's different, then you can partake in different kinds of nails if that's accepted. Or you can be like once that when phlebotomist was drawing blood for me, she said, yes, I get tired of the same, we were talking nails, the same version of pink. I need a new pink. So know what you can get away with in your industry and what you can't, okay? All right, just a reminder too, because this side is crisp and neat, right? Well pressed. This side looks like you picked it up off the floor, right? Or has never ironed in his life. So make sure you are on the left side, men or women. And for folks like me, make sure you've rolled all the pet hair off of it. All right, so to your question, does your hairstyle matter? Yes, right? Because what would your impression be of these people if you were interviewing them based on their hair, right? Okay, so this is a little extreme, but in the 80s, this wasn't quite so extreme, right? So think about what looks polished, professional, is culturally relevant for you, all those things that you come across well and make the impression that you want to make. Yes? Okay. Did that answer your question about hair? Okay, so ask again, see if I can do better.
I'm asking this because I'm thinking that, like you said, because of culture, because of African American women who have natural hair, so it becomes opinionated. Do I have to go back to relaxing my hair, or can I wear it my natural way? And what may seem to be professional to you may not be professional to someone else.
Right. So my personal answer would be different than what I'm going to say, because the reality is, like every other piece of the job search process, you've got to know what's relevant for the company that you're interviewing with. What do they care? And do you care what they care? Right? Do you want to work at a place where you can't have natural hair? But you need to find that out if that's going to be an issue. For me, I want you to wear your hair the way that you feel comfortable and it looks professional, right? And there's lots of ways to do that for lots of cultures. So you got to do your homework and know. It kind of goes back to the startup example, right? Like if you go with the finance banking looking suit on the interview, it's out of fit, right? Yeah. Did I answer it? You're welcome. Thanks for asking it. All right, so here's some fun ones. Professional, yes or no? This one? No. This one? Right. What about these? Him? Yes, this is business casual. Most places this is acceptable. What about her? We see this a lot in higher ed. It's a no. This is your grocery store sweater or your family cookout sweater. It's not, you don't wear it to work. Okay. All right. Professional dress? Yes. Yeah, the shiny one's a little questionable, right? That one's a little question. These are also a little dated, right? The turtleneck is a little dated.
I'm looking at her pose.
Uh-huh.
And you were talking about skin tone.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you say with that, having a suit like that? I guess it's dark.
I think it goes because it's dark. She would probably either need to do the dark like she did, or what's more skin tone for her, as opposed to like white. Or
No, not.
Is that what you mean?
I wouldn't wear white.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, is that sheer?
This, it's hard to tell.
I think if it's sheer, I would say it's okay.
Yeah. It is hard to tell because it's all dark at the bottom, but it does matter. So make sure that you're matching and pairing up hosiery well. Yeah. All right. How about this one? No, absolutely not. For a whole lot of reasons, right? What about this? Yeah, they're okay. Again, maybe a little dated. Turtleneck sweaters are not all the rage right now. All right. How about them? Yeah, they look great. All right, so finishing touch, because as you transition in and out of an interview, you may, if it's cold, you may have on coat. If it's rainy, you may have an umbrella. Think about those pieces too, and they need to be professional, right? Like you may have a favorite Disney character umbrella that you like to carry around on the weekend, but make sure that the umbrella you're bringing into the interview isn't the Disney character umbrella, right? And the same, invest in a nice coat. Okay. The bag, I think you could get away with that if it were black. Mm-hmm. No, I wouldn't do purple. All right, so some buying basics, and we're almost at the end, and we keep doing questions as you have them. Again, intentionally shop for your suit. Make sure you have it and it's ready to go, because you never know when you're going to need it. And then refresh it every few years so you stay current and it doesn't look dated. But also use it, right? So use the pieces like we talked about to do business casual. Use the blazer and the pants or the skirt. All right, invest in the best clothes that you can afford. We put this here because we realize that everybody can't go to Neiman Marcus and drop a lot of money on a suit, right? And even some of those suits wouldn't be the correct choice. They don't all look professional, right? They're more about fashion. So again, plan that in your budget to invest in some clothes for work and for interviewing. We already talked about, make sure you research how people are dressing where you work, and ask for help if you don't know, right? Find out who works there on LinkedIn and shoot them a message, or ask the point of contact at the place. Sometimes that's someone coordinating the interview. You can say, hey, can you give me some insight into how people normally dress for an interview, and what's the daily kind of dress code look like, or do you have a dress code you can share with me? That'll help you prepare, okay? And we talked about this earlier, dress for the job you want, not the one you have, right? If you want to be the CEO, dress like the CEO. Yeah.
Sometimes you would go on their website.
Yep.
And get pictures.
Absolutely. And LinkedIn, right? So most folks have a photo. Some of them aren't great and they need to work on their profile, but most people have a professional headshot. So you can look at that as well. All right, we put this in here just as a reminder, going back to the conversation about investing. There are resources out there to help you if you want them. So like Dress for Success here in Atlanta and across the country. There are also things like, one of my tips that working with students and even for myself has been, go to consignment stores in affluent neighborhoods, right? The Junior League in Buckhead. There's a great store called Finders Keepers in Avondale Estates and over by Emory. They have great clothes at great prices that you don't need to go spend a ton of money. Go to Tanger Outlets, those kind of things, right? And take somebody with you if you get overwhelmed, and they can be kind of a sounding board to help you figure it out. Because I don't know about you, but after I tried on 2 outfits, I'm over it, right? So, so we do want to mention we have some career fairs coming up if you're at the point that you're job seeking or want to go practice. The educator fair, and we call it that on purpose. It's not just recruiting teachers. So any function in a school, they're usually recruiting for those. That will be in Atlanta. The Spring Career Expo, which we have 2 times a year, once in the fall, usually in mid-September, and in the spring. Those are in Macon. And there will be a statewide career fair that our students and alumni are eligible to attend. And this is an annual career fair that happens in the spring, and it's at Cobb Galleria. You can get details on all of these in Handshake. You can even see what employers will be there to decide if it's worth rearranging your schedule or driving to wherever they are. And so while I'm here, I want to make sure that you know, because we're really pushing this hard, because with the new center, we're trying to work really well across the university, recognizing that Mercer's all over the state and online, that any of our students and alumni, regardless of where they are welcome to our events. Unless it says it's pharmacy only, right, and we have very few of those type of events, you are welcome to attend. We often will even provide transportation. So for instance, for the educator fair, we'll have a bus that comes up from Macon to bring, and Henry County to bring students. So if that's ever an issue, let us know and we'll try to help you figure it out. But know that you're welcome. Even as an alum, you can come back and go to these career fairs. Yes, question? To get $100? Oh, I don't know. Is Handshake doing a deal? Have you gotten an email from them? So part of what happens in Handshake is there are all the things that Mercer put out there, and then sometimes Handshake company will send you emails saying refer and you can win a, so that might be what it is. Is that what you're talking about? Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Oh, that was from when we gave a prize for attending an event or something like that. Yeah. We periodically will do those. Yeah. So you just have to pay attention to the details and when we do those giveaways. So congratulations on winning. She's not supposed to tell people, then they don't do that, right? All right. So this is a reminder, and again, we'll send you this handout. We are on the Atlanta campus, Douglas and Henry, Macon. And as a reminder, I'll be here every other week on Thursday, so you can make an appointment with me. Come see me if you need help or just want to talk about anything career related. You schedule your appointments through Handshake. It's pretty easy. You click down and pick the date you want and go through it that way. We can do face-to-face, phone, and virtual through Zoom. So, if it doesn't work or you just can't get face-to-face, that's fine. We can do it on the phone. We can do Zoom. That's totally acceptable. We do it all the time.